So hello everyone. It is my pleasure to be here once again for another edition of Community Talks. Yeah, it's the end of November already. The month has passed really fast, but that means that we have another edition ahead of us, which is very nice, if I do say so myself. And we're also very honored to have today's speakers here with us. It is the project, as you can see on the slide, Capacity Building for Directed Breeding Programs and Bioinformatics Research at JKUAT University. This partnership concerns a partnership between JKUAT University in Kenya and the KALRO Institute in Kenya and Hasselt University. But before we start, I would like to say that you can always ask your questions in the chat, and we will try to answer all of your questions at the end of the presentation. Make sure to keep your mic on mute and maybe also turn off your camera if possible, because this will help with the internet connection. And yeah, I would just like to say enjoy, and I will give the floor to the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting us today at this community talk and give us the opportunity to talk about our project on capacity building for the directed breeding programs and bioinformatics research at JKUAT University mainly. We partner also with ILRI and with KALRO actually in the two projects that we will discuss today. So this is my first community talk. So what I will do today is just explain a little bit the journey that we have traveled so far together with VLIR-UOS to develop these programs at Kenya. So let's start by presenting ourselves. So I'm Dirk Valkenborg, and with us today is Simon Appeltans. You can't see it, but we are here inside a new building at Hasselt University. We are inside the head. You can see from the outside here. This is a piece of art by a colleague and friend of mine, Frits Joris, who developed this piece of art. And we can sit inside this head to think deeply how we can help technology and build capacity in the South. So let me just introduce myself briefly. As I was introduced, my name is Dirk Valkenborg. I'm a professor at Hasselt University in bioinformatics and artificial intelligence. I'm also a father. I have 3 kids, Delphine and Teun, 16, 14, and 13 years old. They are a handful. Here are my coordinates, my email address, and I live in Hasselt, and that's very convenient because where I am now is only 6 kilometers by bike from my house, so that's very convenient. And now I will give the floor to Simon, that he can briefly step in and introduce himself.
Thanks, Derek, for the introduction. So as everybody's mentioned, I'm Simon. I did my doctorate in bioengineering, focusing on agriculture. And I've mainly been working on detecting diseases in crops using hyperspectral cameras and machine learning. You see my experimental setup in the picture on the left, which was quite, let's say, pretty abstract. But it worked. We used this camera system to scan crops in the field. I'm not a father, but I do have a girlfriend. We've been together for 15 years now, and we have a dog, as you can see. And I live more or less in the middle between Antwerp and Hasselt, in the countryside. So the name of the dog is Shul, and my girlfriend's name is Lisa. That's more or less all about me for now.
Thanks, Simon. Okay, we are so based on our background, we're both engineers. I'm a civil engineer. Simon is an agricultural engineer. And we call ourselves data scientists and machine learning experts. And we focus on omics and different types of technology. And I have a small philosophy on the type of research that we conduct here at our university. And that's the Hubble telescope. So when the Hubble telescope was first shot to space, there was a defective mirror, and what you got from that Hubble telescope were images like this, a little bit blurry images because of the light that was falling on the mirror was scattered towards the detector, and we had blurry images. So a device of I don't know how many $1 million was wasted and could not be used. But then data scientists came into the picture, and they know how they discovered that the irregularities in that mirror at the Hubble telescope could be modeled. And if you have a good model about these defects, then you could also understand, for example, if you see light at a certain pixel appearing and you have a model, then you can attribute that light that falls on the pixel back to its original location and have clear images. So that is what I just described is called the Richardson-Lucy deconvolution algorithm. And this is how bioinformatics algorithms can help our lives, giving us more brighter pictures. So thanks to the Richardson-Lucy deconvolution algorithm, we were able to still use the Hubble telescope and have magnificent images from our universe. Having said that, obviously, a perfect mirror is always better. There was a mission to replace that mirror in the Hubble telescope, and the Hubble telescope is now also out of operation. We have now the Weber telescope, which produce even more interesting pictures nowadays. But having said that, that's our field of work. So we, as engineers, like to be close to the instruments that produce the data and do all types of fancy stuff there with statistics, artificial intelligence, machine learning to extract more knowledge out of that raw data provided by these instruments. So data scientists, that's what we are. Technology and algorithms are important, but domain science matters. So we also invest heavily in and focus our research in the health towards the health of the agriculture sector. So I already mentioned you that I worked at Hasselt University, and at Hasselt University we also have a data science institute. So obviously we're part of that institute, but let me just introduce you briefly to our university. We are situated in Hasselt, obviously, east of this country, and we are the youngest but fastest growing university of the country, also the smallest university. We only have now a little bit more than 5,000 students. We have 6 faculties, 6 research priorities, and a corps of staff, approximately now 1,500 members. And we're separated over 2 campuses. We have one technology campus here in Diepenbeek, where I am currently now, and we have one campus in the center of Hasselt, where we have the humanities and law. Okay, the Data Science Institute, that's something new. This is founded in 2019, also located at our campus in Diepenbeek. The Center for Statistics is a research group, core of this institute. And with this institute, we want to become an interdisciplinary and international institute centered on data science, because we are all data analysts, but today we're confronted with very complicated questions. And we need a lot of our partners and colleagues in quantitative science to help us do data wrangling, unlock data, have knowledge about GDPR and ethical aspects, and also deploy our tools or methods that we invent in a real world situation. So this new institute groups 150 researchers and 11 research groups, also across 6 faculties. Our ambition actually is, I will go over quickly over this slide. This slide depicts the data science cycle, but what we want to do is actually become a one-stop shop for your data science research problems. Okay, another thing that we do here at the Data Science Institute is hosting our Master of Statistics and Data Science. And let me introduce you quickly to this master, and that's important because VLIR-UOS plays an important role here in establishing also this master. So this was started in 1980 as a one-year master of biostatistics. By 1 year later, 11 years later, we started with a new master in applied statistics. From 2007, you know, the new Bologna agreement. These master after master programs, they had to become regular 2-year masters, and we had a master in biostatistics, applied statistics, and bioinformatics. 2009, bioinformatics was replaced by epidemiology and public health methodology. Good, and in 2020, we did a reorganization of our entire master, and we became a Master of Statistics, Data Science, now with 4 tracks: biostatistics, bioinformatics, and quantitative epidemiology. And we also have a new track on data science, of which I'm also the program director of. The philosophy here we had here in this master is a triple helix of research, consultancy, and education. So we do a lot of research on methodology, statistics, bioinformatics, and artificial intelligence. And we also teach our students about these methods. But we also have a consultancy department where we help society solving data science problems. And from that, we will learn and receive new challenges. And these challenges, we can use them to further investigate, but we can also push them to our students so that they already in a very early stage in their career can work on complicated real life problems in their educational trajectory. So this is what we call an engine of cross-fertilization. So where does ICP come in? The international course program of VLIR-UOS. This program started in 1993 in our master, and we could allow 10 scholarships funded by VLIR-UOS every year and allow them to our program. As such, we have students and alumni from all over the world now, and we have a very diverse international program running here. 75% of our students are from abroad, so outside Belgium. Okay, this video will start, but that's not the ID. So this international course program is coordinated with Jade. There is a YouTube video of Jade explaining why VLIR-UOS is so important, supporting our international course program. Okay, so that's enough about our university and Master in Statistics. Let's now talk about our project and how did this story get started. So what we will do is we acquired 4 phases of funding so far. So we did a Global Minds in 2017, where we got the idea of the project. I will spend some slides on that subject. We did a VLIR-UOS joint application, and that was honored, and we got this project running from 2020 until 2022. Afterwards, in 2023, we again applied for Global Minds, and then had an idea to continue our initial project, and that was also awarded last year, and that is our VLIR-UOS South initiative that will run from 2023 until 2025. We are collaborating with Kenya, but this is not a coincidence that we are also focusing our efforts on Nairobi and Kenya, because there is a lot of collaboration already between the Center for Statistics and Kenya. For example, Paul Janse and Luc Duchateau, both, I think Paul Janse is already retired. Luc Duchateau, I don't believe he's still retired, but he's from the University of Ghent. They have a past collaboration between Ghent and Hasselt and ILRI, the International Livestock Research Institute, situated in Nairobi, but also in Addis Ababa. in Ethiopia. And there was a current collaboration, that's past collaboration, there's a current collaboration between Senstat and JKUAT, and that's a team's project of Roel Brakers, who is a professor in theoretical statistics here, also at the Center for Statistics. So there was a good firm basis of past collaborations, past and current collaborations. So how does this story get started? Well, that happened on a opening of an exhibition of Koen van Mechelen. And what Koen van Mechelen does is crossing national chicken purebreds. Chickens are very, very important animals for humans for food purposes, obviously. And they're so important that almost every national state or national country has its own type of chicken. So in Belgium, our national signature chicken would be the Mechelse koekoek. In France, this would be poule de Bresse. So very important species for that country. So what Koen van Mechelen was doing was crossing these purebreds to construct a cosmopolitan chicken. So a chicken that got the DNA and genetic traits of all national chicken. So that was indeed called the Cosmopolitan Chicken Project. And he had a database of fully sequenced genomes of all those crossbreeds. And suddenly scientists were interested in these genomes. And what we already discovered as scientists is that this cosmopolitan chicken had actually a huge genetic diversity. So these national species were very homogeneous, had a very homogeneous DNA, not much variation between different chickens. But the cosmopolitan chicken, there was a lot of variation. And a lot of variation means also that there is a good robustness. So if there is a change or pressure in an environment, a lot of genetic variation gives you a good possibility to battle survival of the fittest. Cool. So we did a Global Minds project and went to Kenya, to Nairobi. And what I noticed there was that 20% of the Kenyan population, lives in cities. And in cities, we have good road networks, good breeding infrastructure, and good distribution centers. What I also noticed, and I'm not sure if this correlation is a coincidence, yes or no, but 25% of the chicken meat consumed is the broiler chicken. The broiler chicken, it's this animal that you can see here on my slide. That's also the chicken that we eat. There are big stalls, chicken, bred, they're well fed, so they got antibiotics. These are nicely conditioned stalls, and they can live there, and they will be processed and go into distribution. So what is the other 75% eating then in Kenya? And they are eating their local endogenous jungle fowl. And you see a jungle fowl here, and if I swap back to my previous slide, you can notice a difference. This is a well-fed, maybe not so healthy chicken, but it contains a lot of meat. This is a very skinny chicken, happy chicken perhaps, but 73% of the Kenyan population eats the endogenous jungle fowl, which does not contain a lot of proteins. So the question is here, can we, in order to secure food supply, can we increase the protein content of these chickens? So for example, by growing chickens that produce more meat, or chickens that lay more eggs, because that's also a problem. Layer chickens, we have them also in stalls, but endogenous chickens that just lay a few eggs in a year. So the challenge is here, these endogenous chickens, they deserve their place in the rural areas because they are fit for against the pressure imposed by them by the jungle or by high altitude or by drought. But commercial strains, if you would put them in the jungle, they will probably die after 5 minutes just because of the stress. So the question is, could we make a crossbreed that has both beneficial threats, being robust against the environment and produce steadily enough proteins? So that is brings me to the next slide. So which is a long slide full of text, but I will guide you through this. So we want to solve several problems here, and I will read out loud. So on the countryside, there are limited protein resources available. So improving the meat egg yield will definitely improve the protein segment in the diet of the rural Kenyans, and thus also the quality of life. In rural environment, transportation of livestock is easier than processed meat because road infrastructure is usually poor, landslides occur, and not every truck is equipped with a cooled container. So this is a problem in rural environments. So livestock, much easier to transport. You locally bred chickens can keep their weight when they're transported and can be sold live at markets. So actually, there is less risk for foodborne illnesses when you work with livestock. And locally bred chickens, they can be a protein buffer and improve the food security when the supply chain would fail. So why do we focus on small livestock like poultry or other types of birds? Well, they can be easily disposed for cash. So this small livestock acts actually at the rural communities as a living bank account. So if we now can arrange that this livestock grows more proteins, grows more eggs, your bank account will become a little bit thicker. And that's good news because in these rural communities, obviously there are other animals that are bred there, like sheep, goat, but those are under the command of the male communities. The small livestock, that will be guarded by more vulnerable groups at the countryside. So women can decide when to butcher a chicken, yes or no. They don't have to pass the rural village board for that. So it gives them more power and monetary values if we can increase the value of the chicken. So that's what we wanted to do now. Correlate genetic variations in chicken DNA, phenotypic traits, so that we can now set up an informed decision on a breeding program. So for example, maybe first we should breed 2 national chickens from Europe and then crossbreed it with 2 or 3 chickens from Africa. So that was the idea, and that's why we developed our bird project. Now, there was a problem. There is a knowledge gap in applied statistics and hands-on bioinformatics, and also the infrastructure to store all that genetic data was missing in the South. So that's why I reached out to Sheila Ome. She is an ex-PhD student from Olivier Hanot. She was a senior researcher at JKUAT, the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. She wanted to construct a bioinformatics minor trajectory in the master program at the Institute of Biotechnology Research. So she wanted to educate her students on bioinformatics. And then we had the ILRI research, the International Livestock Research Institute, Olivier Hanot, who is a geneticist, also affiliated to the University of Nottingham. ILRI hosts the genome database of genomics chicken. And there is a lot of data there, but not much human capacity to handle the data. So you immediately see the link between ILRI and JKUAT. What I forgot to mention, actually, at JKUAT, Sheila has a good contact with China, and she hosts also the Chinese chicken database. So we already have now data, genetic data from the Chinese chicken and from the African chicken. Unfortunately, not much human capacity. And then we have the data of Koen van Mechelen, who developed this cosmopolitan genome by crossbreeding the national rats. So we had an idea to use this data as a basis to develop this breeding program, but we had some issues, right? So in Kenya, there was a high potential in theoretical sciences. And that is obviously because of UK has established there a lot of universities, and mathematics and theoretical statistics is very good. The education is very good at Nairobi and Kenya. But ILRI, they had difficulties to find bioinformaticians and applied statisticians. So they fly them in from Europe. So why wouldn't we activate our local data science capacity and applied research at the JKUAT Master Program via workshops and train the trainer events so that we can unlock the potential here and serve ILRI and JKUAT, the necessary brains that have expertise in bioinformatics and statistics. And there is an interesting program for that. So if we do these workshops and train the trainer events, we are working with young, bright Kenyan minds, and we can talk about the VLIR-ICP program and ask them if they would apply for scholarships. And after they have acquired a master, there are bilateral programs at our university that we can use to further develop PhDs on this subject on directed breeding programs. So we developed our first project, BIRD, directed breeding programs for improved poultry livestock by genetic bioinformatics research and development in Kenya. So we had a few objectives. First objective was to establish a center of excellence in bioinformatics and got this wheel of sustainable research collaboration spinning. So what we do is at a workshop, we see young and bright minds, we select them, we let them enroll in a 2-year master program, and then we select them for doing a joint PhD between JKUAT and ILRI and our Hasselt University. So this is how we try to train young students into experienced PhD researchers. And when these PhD researchers come back to Nairobi, they're most welcome at ILRI, because ILRI was flying in the experts from Europe, but that's no longer necessary. So at Kenya, people can find highly paid jobs at ILRI or other more international research institutes. And as such, we will build a capacity of knowledge on bioinformatics at Nairobi. So this is how we would try to embed the efforts of this project in a sustainable way in the country. And our second objective was like, we are going to do bioinformatics, but we need computers for that. Computers to do the education, but also servers to host our genetic DNA on. So we had funding of phase 1. So this was our VLIR-UOS joint project. with Kenya for 2 years, and we got received 90,000 euros approximately to develop our plans. So what were our plans? So we want to have workshops, 3 workshops planned in Nairobi, not only for people that live in Nairobi, but we also did a reach out to other universities and offered 10 scholarships for students that are at countryside universities to travel to Nairobi. We would host them, feed them, so that they could join these workshops. So 10 scholarships to also do an outreach to countryside universities. And we developed, the idea was to do basic programming and bioinformatics, data visualization, machine learning. We also foresee train the trainer event. So that means that after such a workshop, we sit together with the people at JKUAT and we think about how can we now embed this course in your curriculum. And we will educate and develop material together so that it's fit for purpose in their master programs. And we also do train the trainer events. So we also get the people involved at JKUAT to Belgium, and where we can focus on more elaborate statistical training.
Derek, sorry to interrupt you,
yes?
but I'm just looking at the time. We might have to skip over a few of the details to
okay,
finish.
Maybe I will do that. Yes. Okay. So good. So yeah, and then also our investments and our staff. So important here, just because I will point out this later. We have a liaison officer that established a link between ILRI and JKUAT and our university, and also an ICT support. But then obviously COVID came, and we lost some contact with our host university, and we had to come up with a contingency plan. Half of the budget was returned to VLIR-UOS, but we were able to achieve a workshop here at Hasselt University where we train Grace and also a Cuban specialist in genetic workflows. We also trained Stephen Ogada, who was our ICT support, to get access on the Flemish supercomputer. And we planned a workshop in August 2022 on next generation sequencing and population genetics, but unfortunately, due to the presidential elections, we had to postpone this workshop until September 2022. So building in contingency is crucial in these type of projects. Here you can see the computer room, and you can see Steve Ogada taking care of this computer room. This was realized. We didn't ship these computers ourselves. We just worked together with a Flemish NGO called Close the Gap, who will they will receive computers of 2-3 years old from companies. They will refurbish those computers and they ship them to all over the world. In fact, so together with Close the Gap, we realized this computer room. And here you see our server, which stores the IC3PO database, combining all the chicken genome from Africa, China, and Cosmopolitan Chicken Project. So what have you learned here? Well, first of all, try to budget in some money for refurbishing a room. So when this room was not occupied, there were no tables or chairs inside. There was no electricity, no internet. So we didn't budget this because we thought there was a room, but in this case there wasn't. So we had to pay this from our administration budget. And second thing is, this is not a protected room. So we had to build in here in front of the door, like a security measure so that the computers could not be stolen. Also, you don't see this on this image, but the roof, there is also a similar iron construction under the roof built in because of security. And what we also learned is that this women empowerment, this is really interesting if you work with women in Africa, because they seem to be more investing in the country. So that's what we learned also. So they don't have the urge to move into the world and maximize their career possibilities. They're very keen on staying and building capacity and pulling the country forward. So that's a second lesson that I learned. And then obviously there was a Global Minds 2, where we wanted to verify our computer room. And what we learned is that this tech support is really crucial, because this guy was so caring for the computers and all the equipment, that it really is worth to invest in ICT support in the South. We gave an additional workshop, and we had boots on the ground as well. That was to see if we could continue our mission there. So here you see that we have a workshop on AI and precision agriculture, using the computer room. Every computer is locked to the table. Mouses are stowed away after class every time. So this was a very interesting experience. Also, lessons learned here. When reporting, let people sign an attendance sheet. What we also achieved there in the first VLIR-UOS project, sometimes it was difficult to find full support from the university. What always can help is signing an MOU. And here you see that we're signing an MOU with all the deans and the chancellors from that university. So having signed such an MOU helps us tremendously, because now next missions, we get the letters that we need for a visa much quicker, and so on. And then I will give the word back to Simon, who will explain what we developed here during that Global Minds 2 mission.
All right, thank you, Derek. I will try to keep it relatively short, but I'm going to take at least 5 more minutes to discuss the follow-up of the bird project. So during the second mission, we saw that there was a lot of potential to expand the things we did on poultry to also crops. So the genetic breeding is based on genome information of the Cosmopolitan Chicken Project. But while we were there in our second visit, we recognized that there's also a lot of genomic information for banana and coffee cash crops, but also for doom palm and slender leaf staple crops, which is very important, because in climate change, there is a lot of pressure on the production of these crops, especially in rural Kenya, for which we could potentially do some useful things. So we wrote the second, the follow-up project, Seabird, which is a completely different project title, but we sort of try to keep a similar acronym. And the goal of this project is then to really strengthen the rural production of food. Derek, if you want, next slide. Yeah, so perfect. The staple crops I mentioned, doom palm and slender leaf, are really local food crops. We hadn't heard of them personally, but Johnstone, that you can see here in the picture, the second guy from the right, introduced us to these crops, which are really the backbone of the food security in rural communities. But now, due to droughts, extreme weather events, changing temperatures, dry periods, rain seasons, are being targeted by all these changes and threatens their production for local farmers. Next slide, please. The same goes for bananas and coffee, which is a very important economic cash crop. Also due to new diseases, more challenging cultivation techniques, but also economic factors, their production was severely threatened as well. And we got a nice tour of the facilities at JKUAT for creating banana seedlings, but also at KALRO Institute for their genetic research into new coffee varieties. Next slide, please. So the short initiative we submitted and got approved had a budget of approximately 69,000 euros, same duration, 2 years, and with the same partners. The idea that we also had here is that we want to expand our workshops a little bit to be more sustainably integrated into the curriculum. We also recognized that we had a lot of information and courses available from our colleague, Professor Zevskedi, who made the ER Biostat platform, which is an online R course into biostatistics. And the goal that we have here is to get recurring students over the 3 visits that we're going to make in Nairobi and the KALRO Institute, to get the same 10 scholarship students present in each of those workshops so that they can build up knowledge, including also a few teachers of the biostatistics major at JKUAT, so that we can really build more expert knowledge rather than giving the same workshop 3 times. So that is our new ambition now, and we hope that will facilitate the growth of biostatistics at the university. Next slide, please. All right, so actually the recipe is more or less the same. Never change winning plan, they say. We're going to again do workshops, but we also want to do a field trip, which I guess is on the next slide, and yeah, and a closing event. So what is different now is that we're really going to try to focus more on recurring knowledge transfer and really try to integrate more in the curriculum, because one of the main things we saw was, and Johnstone is here, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the fact that we constructed this server space there with computer room and trained the people to use them was a facilitator for the rest of the university as well. So other courses, teachers from other curriculums, they came to ask if their students could utilize the infrastructure or if they could be also involved in training. So I want to make this now double computer lab with 2 servers and more training, really a motor for the university to expand their knowledge and influence. For the rest, everything remains more or less the same. With one additional really nice story, the part of the coffee bioinformatics research, we're going to try to license this research and this technology with the Impact Licensing Initiative, which is a Flemish government-funded NGO, I think they are, that they actually try to identify IP that is present in companies or in universities in Flanders that is being used commercially or in research context, but could have a potential impact in society, especially in abroad in a North-South collaboration. So what they, for example, did with one of the huge supermarket chains called Colruyt in Belgium, they took their cooling technology and adapted it to transport vaccines in sub-Saharan Africa in a passive way. And they want to see if it's possible to do a similar thing for the coffee industry, where we are going to try to make artificial intelligence-based algorithms and extension apps to help farmers in their production from farm to the port in Mombasa, basically, and also help them achieve better education for farmers with the technology that we have at the university. Yeah, so thank you. Next slide. So that's all going on. That is, you've now more or less seen the funding for phase 1 and 2, which we're really going to focus on building the capacity to foster new research, to train people, to help the scientists there get better content for the curriculum. And then we want in phase 3 to get larger projects to valorize this capacity that we built into research projects and get these goals of better genetically bred crops and poultry, to get these goals ongoing, and to also push the Impact Licensing Initiative and see if we can strengthen the coffee production chain there. And then hopefully this phase 3 is successful. We have some results on the bioinformatics side, and we can further work those out in funding phase 3, which is similar but more, let's say, focused on the real application of the results of phase 3. And phase 5, we hopefully are there in a jeep, putting a chicken or a new banana variety somewhere in rural Kenya together with our colleagues and go plant the first specimens that we have ready for commercial farmers. So that is a little bit the roads that we have envisioned right now. Next slide, please. Yeah. So yeah, I tried to keep it short to have some more time for questions. But more information can be found, although it is in Dutch, at the Hasselt magazine website and a local newspaper, Bioinformatics. Maybe you guys can use Google Lens and translate the Dutch text and still read it. Otherwise, you can give us an email if you want more information. And let's finish with thanking the two people that made all of this possible from the Kenyan side, Sheila and Johnstone, who have been the coordinators for Bird and now will be coordinated for Seabird. So nice to put these people in the picture. All right, I guess that's it for our slide
Thank you,
deck,
Simon.
and we are ready
And
for questions.
also, Johnston and Hudson are here. Sheila is not present in this meeting, but Johnston and Hudson, they are here and also open for questions. Just for your information, because here we see Hudson on the slide, so
Yep.
he's on the right top next to Simon. So that is Hudson, and he's also here in this meeting, and you can ask him all kinds of questions. And you can.
Yeah, one thing we forgot to mention actually is that we are planning to apply for a PhD position with Hudson as well. So that would also be a very nice outcome of the MOU that we have now.
Exactly, that's an outcome of the MOU, indeed. Yeah. So let's stop here, and then we have 10 more minutes or 12 more minutes for questions.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for your presentations. I always think it's nice to see how statistics kind of combine with other subjects, because you always think of, yeah, these are very like abstract sciences, but you can do so much with the research that you do. So yeah, let's look at the questions. Let's see. The first question is by Jan Kennis, who asks, what would you describe as the most important societal impact of your project?
Well, I think we have to split this question in long and short term. On the short term, I think mostly the training we do, the courses, the workshops, allowing people to follow the ICP master or to enroll in different training programs is going to really help, because what we see is that starting to program and starting to learn R is quite a high threshold, because you have to get familiar with how does a programming language work, how do you install the software and all of that. But once you get past this initial barrier and you get people an account on Google Collaborate, or you get people with a laptop and R installed in front of them, learning this new skill is relatively easy compared to that initial difficult threshold. And then once you learn to program or learn some basic statistics, you have a lot of career opportunities in many different fields. So that's really positive. And on the long term, of course, the societal impact will be strengthening the food security and the economic stability of the farmers and the rural communities. Derek, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yes, and the staple crops. Huh? So I mean, if these if the slender leaf, the doom palm climate is changing, that's a fact. So these crops, they are under a lot of pressure due to climate change. So what happens is that if the local communities do not have access to their staple crop, there is famine. So that is, I think, the long term, the moonshot vision of the project. But there is also a direct benefit that we didn't acknowledge actually when writing this proposal. There is a working going on here in this room next to me. I'm not sure if you hear this, but what I want to say is, because of we hire liaison officers and ICT staff, we also have job security in the South. And these people, they are paid an honest wage, and they can support their family members going to school as well. And that's a direct benefit actually that we're leveraging here as well. So that's not foreseen, but we didn't describe that in the project, but the money there is well spent also, and is given to family members, given the opportunity to improve themselves.
All right, thank you. The next question I see is from Damilola Olanipon, who asks, are you planning another training?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We are back in Nairobi in February. So the from 5 till 11 February, if I'm not mistaken. We're doing a basic art training, and you're most welcome to join that session.
Okay, great. I don't know if it's okay for you, but maybe in the follow-up mail, we could add your emails. If people are, for example, interested in doing the training, they can reach out to you.
Definitely.
Okay.
Also, don't Dirk is going to close the door, I guess, but the ER Biostat platform is available online as well.
Okay.
So if you already have some basic experience, you can check out. There's a lot of content and instructional stuff there. So you can also add the link to the follow-up email.
Okay, great. Jan Kennis has another question. He asks, do you come to an impact of the project in terms of management of research or education at JKUAT?
Actually, Johnston has just answered that, I guess, in the chat.
Right.
I was just going to pass the ball to him anyway, since
right.
he is the coordinator at JKUAT. But let me just quickly rephrase what he's saying in the chat, so people that aren't following the chat can hear. So the immediate societal impact is the ability to convert used biological data that they have accumulated over the years into meaningful information, which is helping them with strategizing the improvement of poultry and crops right now. There is also PhD and master students involved in the project. For example, Sheila was also training Johnston, I guess, as a PhD student. And she also came for training together with Grace at our university in Hasselt. So all of those things are quite immediate impacts in the management of research and education at the university.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was scrolling through the questions. I did not see that Johnson already answered the question. I see another question by Faith Njeru, who asks, how do you plan to navigate the problem of antimicrobial resistance where the improved chickens use antibiotics?
Well, this is the whole point of the project. We don't use the resilience of we use the resilience of the endogenous chicken. So we will perhaps cross it. We're not sure even if we're going to cross it with a broiler chicken who requires antibiotics to survive in that stall, huh? But we're just trying to find the genes that we need to have an F1 breed that can survive harsh environments in highlands, at seaside, during drought, or and still can lay eggs in sufficient frequency and grow meat even when there is a scarcity of feed. So that is the real objective of the project. So we will not try to have an improved breed that relies on antibiotics to survive. That is the whole idea.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. We have another question by Gustavo Gutierrez, who asks, who is managing the local poultry breeding program? Are farmers involved in the organization or in the partnership?
At this point, there are not yet farmers involved. All the breeding is at JKUAT. So it's still in trial phase, but we are going beyond poultry, right? So we have the Seabird project that involves also coffee, okay? And for that purpose, we work together with the International Coffee Research Institute, or the Coffee Research Institute, or KALRO. And KALRO represents 500,000 farmers. So there are definitely coffee farmers, yeah.
Yeah, because KALRO as a wider organization has different farmer networks which go beyond the 500,000. I think.
Yep.
So there are farmers involved. So end users are involved, not for the chicken, but yes, for the coffee berries there are.
All right, interesting. It's always nice to see projects include local organizations as well. So that's always nice. Let's see. There's another question. Is it possible to have other researchers outside JKUAT join the project, or even some elements of the project, such as training, scholarships, etc.?
Oh, yes. The scholarships that we have, the 10 scholarships, are specifically for people outside of Nairobi that have to travel, because it's quite a barrier for them often to join these workshops otherwise. But even still, if you're able to make the trip to JKUAT for those 3 workshops that we're planning, which we will still communicate later with Johnson and the team, You're welcome to join, obviously.
Yes, so
yeah.
to add on that, I hope I'm clear and you don't have too much suffering from the background noise. But Pat here, you can reach out to Johnston because we will launch a call for the new workshop in February, and there are 10 scholarships again that are allowed to travel to Nairobi. So there is budget foreseen for other universities outside JKUAT or Nairobi to join these workshops. And once you are allowed to one workshop, you have the funding for 3 of them, to attend 3 of them. So the knowledge will be aggregated in one person. So you will be trained gradually in bioinformatics during these 3 workshops. But that is a little bit not to scatter all the information or knowledge, so to combine it in one person. So please reach out to Johnston for application form, but that will be made available later on. So the call will be announced somewhere in December.
All right. I see another question by Jan Kennis who asks, in terms of job security, how do you see post-project possibilities? Are jobs ensured afterwards? I think you briefly already touched on the subject. I don't know if you have something else to add about that.
I did. So apart from this real sustainable collaboration where we pick young minds, train them in a master's program, offer a PhD using a bilateral, this is only happy few, I know that. But when they come back, they can sink into the institutes. There is a huge demand at KALRO, at ILRI, at other research institutes for trained applied statisticians and bioinformaticians. So there is a job security. There is a need which can sink in the capacity that we're building.
And I see another question. If the results presented here can be tested in other countries?
No, the project is conceived as such that this is a pilot study. But what we do here can be just copy-paste everywhere in the world. So it can go to South America, it can go to Asia, it can go to other African countries. So this roadmap can be reused over and over again.
I actually think that to add on what Dirk is saying, one of the main things I learned here is that you need to take your time if you want to invest in starting a new research line or really changing something like the genetic breeding bioinformatics side. You have to first really focus on a few years, 5, 6, to build the capacity. And that capacity building is something I guess you can do anywhere for any type of research. And it will follow a similar pattern in which you need really boots on the ground, regular contact, a few mobilities, train-the-trainer events, all of these things. And then you can start going into the research phase. So that principle, I think, is applicable almost anywhere for any field.
All right. Okay. About the scholarship, I think there's an additional question if this also counts for applicants from other African countries.
Well, we didn't budget that in. I mean, that if this involves travel by plane, we didn't foresee that budget. So I think we only have a lump sum for transportation, and that typically involves like taking a bus. I think with that money you can take a bus from or train from everywhere in Kenya to Nairobi. But yeah, outside country travel, that might be difficult. Now, if you are from another country and you happen to be in Nairobi, I think you are most welcome. If there are enough seats available, then we definitely fill those up with people not from Kenya. But we don't have I don't have a vision actually, or we didn't foreseen that question.
No, completely understandable. I think at this point, these were all of the questions asked in the chat. We're also 2 minutes over time. Yeah, I think we can wrap up here. Thank you so much to our 2 speakers, Professor Wilkenborg and Dr. Appeltans, for your lovely presentation. And also, of course, thank you so much to all the people in the partnership, Hudson and Johnson specifically, who are here in the chat as well. So yeah, and also thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for being here for another edition. Yes, you can find the recording of this community talks online in a few days. We will also send a follow-up mail for our next edition at the end of December, with also the information of the project here, because I see that a lot of people are interested in the project. So stay tuned for that. And I think the only thing that is left to do is to say thank you, and we'll see you at a next community talks.